Greetings and welcome to the next review in our Cohiba 2020 video review series. I've got to admit to you, I'm going to look at a cigar that's quite sentimental to me. It's the Cohiba 1966 limited edition that came out in 2011. And the reason it's called 1966 is because it was released to coincide with the 45th anniversary of Cohiba. Now, I'm going to talk about a few things in this review. I think four things I had figured that I wanted to talk about before I came on air. Number one was the pigtail. Number two was the Maduro shade, the color of the wrapper, and the difference between the Maduro wrapper process. There is a difference, and I'll go into that in this video for you. Number three was the limited edition series itself, and number four was the reputation of the cigar, which is very high amongst Cohiba releases. No matter what the release was, whether it's regular production or special releases, this is a highly reputable cigar amongst cigar aficionados. First thing I want to do is just thank Trevor Lees for gifting me this cigar. Mate, I can't thank you enough. In fact, the reason this cigar has sentimental value for me is because the first time I shared a cigar at Trevor's place, this is a cigar that was brought out, and I have such fond memories of it. The thing I wanted to talk about first, and all those subjects that I wanted to discuss, was the pigtail itself. Have a look at that. Now, I'm going to just read some information about releases with pigtails. Now, the first releases that had pigtails were the famous Cohiba ones from 1960. The mid-60s, 64, I think, Lanceros and the Cohiba Coronas Especiales, the ones that were given out as diplomatic gifts, they had pigtails. Now, since that point, we've had in 1969 the Monte Cristo Especial and Monte Cristo Especiales number 2, which are similar sizes to the Lanceros and the Coronas Especiales respectively. Every single Trinidad Vitola, whether it's a regular production or special release, has a pigtail, and I think that's because it's a premium marker. In the past, the Davidoff number 1 and number 2, the Hoyo de Monterrey, La Hoya de Dauphine, and the deleted Odeon from discontinued in the 80s. The Vergueros Especiales number 1 and Especiales number 2, which are the same size as the Lanceros Coronas Especiales. This 2011 Cohiba 1966 limited edition, the 2017 Cohiba Talisman, and of course the Cohiba Bahiki 52, 54, 56. So what can we tell about those sort of releases? Why do they have pigtails? There's no definitive answer. The best thing I can do is to give the best educated guess and say that when the Lanceros and the Especiales first came out, they were given as diplomatic gifts. I think at the time that those cigars were gifted out in the 60s, tobacco smoking was much more prevalent. And the consensus would have been that diplomats would have had their own lighters, but possibly not cutters. So how can we design these premium cigars for ease of use if a person doesn't have a cutter? Well, just design a pigtail, and what you do is you untwist. I'll show you now. Just untwist a pigtail, and just with your thumbnail, just lift the top off, and you should be right. I've got a little bit over there on the thing, but that's okay. But you can see, no problem there. What I mean to say is no problem in regards to getting a big enough cut. Cold draw is certainly refined hay and cocoa notes. Obviously, that's going to be coming from the shade of the wrapper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to light it up and come back and give you my thoughts from the initial third. So my initial thoughts upon lighting is there was certainly the refined grass and hay that you get out of Cohiba. There's also cocoa and spice and sort of a sweetness, not so much a honey sweetness, maybe a licorice sweetness. It's quite a complex cigar and a quality cigar. And the plumes of smoke, plenty of smoke. It's constructed well like every other cigar in this Cohiba series. And it's a sort of cigar that, in my mind, really requires to be smoked slowly to do it justice when it's given off that much smoke and that much flavour. I'm going to go into discussing the limited edition series, what exactly it means. And I'm going to read some notes that Alex Groom has given in regards to the limited edition series on the Cuban Cigar website. In 2000, Habanos S.A. introduced the Edition Limitada, or the limited edition program. This series comprises cigar vitolas that are not in current production for the brand and often features vitolas that are entirely new. Since 2005, 3 cigars in this line are typically released each year. They are available worldwide for a single year in limited quantities. These cigars typically come from the premium brands. Initially, so before I read on, the premium brands being the main global brands, which are Cohiba, Partagas, Romeo and Julieta, Hoya de Monterrey, H. Upmann, and Monte Cristo. But having said that, from I think 2007 onwards, there's been limited editions that have been outside those big premium global brands, such as Punch and Trinidad and Ramon Juanes and Bolivar. So there's been a few other brands that have had limited editions. In fact, most recent limited edition, which I don't know if it's out yet, but I think it's the Quito-Say Senadores is coming out. It's the first Quito-Say limited edition. Anyway, I'll read on. Initially, the cigars were manufactured using 2-year-old age wrappers from the upper level of the plant to produce a unique darker colour. Since 2007, all of the tobacco, wrapper, binder and filler is aged for 2 years. So that's important to know. It's just usually, before 2007 it was just the wrapper, now it's all the leaf. Limited edition cigars typically have 2 bands. The main band is normally the standard band for the brand. The second band is a special black on gold band with the year of release below the words Edition Limitada. The bands from 2000 did not have a year. So my band is exactly like that. You've got the Cohiba stock standard band D there and the 2011 Edition Limitada band. Now, there's an anecdote that Alex has added, which I just want to share with you. It's great information here, so thank you, Alex. It took a few years for Habanos S.A. to settle on 3 Edition Limitada cigars each year. In 2000, there were 4, 5 in 2001, none in 2002, 5 again in 2003, 4 in 2004, and then finally settling on 3 in 2005. There's also a 2001 limited edition Vegas Rabena Promenade gifted to attendees at the 2002 Habana Festival to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Vegas Rabena brand. Only 800 of these cigars were produced, but if taken into account that takes that year's total number of limited edition cigars to 6. Now, in 2002, there were no limited edition releases. This was probably due to the late release of the 2001 limited edition cigars and the lack of suitable 2-year-old wrapper tobacco. As Habanos S.A. may have underestimated the success of the limited edition concept. Yes, I agree. They did underestimate the success of the concept. In 2015, only 2 Edition Limitada cigars were released. This was probably because of the Monte Cristo 80 and Versario cigar, which is available in similar quantities to an Edition Limitada, many more than a typical commemorative cigar. So there you go, some information about the limited edition series. Now, at the end of the day, the limited edition series, the reason it came into being, my theory, is related to the sale of Habanos SA in 2000 to Altitas, which was a Spanish tobacco company at the time. Habanos SA needed upfront capital to keep producing and supplying Cuban cigars, and the way to do that was to offer a sale of the business and get some upfront capital. Now, when Altitas came into the business, the idea of limited editions came out, and it was a huge success. Now, at first, they weren't at a premium price point. They weren't. They were probably around the same price as regular production, but the sales of them were so popular that they've grown into a source of upfront capital for Habanos SA. And similarly speaking, regional editions, when they came on the market in 2005, have provided a source of upfront capital from regional distributors. They pay upfront for the cigars. The cigars end up getting delivered often late, and the money gets used into, Habanos SA continuing to produce and supply regular production cigars. That's just continuing to be a bit strong on the cocoa and spice now, but it's certainly still very refined, and still, in my mind, thinking to myself, look, I've just got to take time and smoke that slowly to do it justice. So I am going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there and offer some more thoughts when I come into the middle third. So just coming into the middle third, and look, no surprises. It has picked up a little bit in intensity, especially the spice notes. Now, I've just retrohaled it, and it was really strong through the nose. Try that one more time. Excuse me. Really strong. This is too strong for me. Those two times that I tried to retrohale, I didn't get it like I did just before I was off camera, and it's probably amongst the strongest that I've ever experienced it through the nose. The polar opposite of what I experienced when I was retrohaling the Cohiba Pyramides 2003 Reserva. I'll give it one more go. I haven't been able to replicate the strength of it, but it's fairly spicy through the nose, and just through the middle third, it's quite. I've got a bit of it at that time. It's quite spicy, and there's the elements of the combination of that cocoa and refined hay and grass. It's in my mind, it's like a Cohiba Siglo 6, on steroids. That's what I think it is. In a way, it's just with a touch of cocoa and a touch of spice. No doubt it's a quality cigar. I mean, the size itself, it's called a Canonazo Especial. It's 52 ring gauge by 166 millimeters, which is, off the top of my head, is I think it's 6.5 inches. And there's only ever been one other release of that size, and that's the famous Trinidad La Trova, which aficionados worldwide, pretty much universally agreed was a quality LCDH release. This limited edition, when it came out, had it had contemporary praise from enthusiasts, from reviews, cigar smokers in general. As time has gone on, those retrospective views have only got, they may seem a little bit muted in comparison, because reviews today, the cigar is even more in demand and even more reputed. There's a number of people that, on our forum that have remarked that they would just love to get one more box. It's just nowhere to be found. This was the, just trying to think off the top of my head, I think it was the fifth limited edition in the Cohiba marker. The first was in the initial 2001 year Pyramidis, and that was repeated again in 2006, another Pyramidis. 2003, the Cohiba Double Corona. I think it set the benchmark for limited editions thereafter, because that really was highly praised. And similarly, the year after, the Cohiba Sublime came out in 2004, and that was similarly praised, like the Cohiba Double Corona. Now, I did want to discuss something about the Maduro wrappers. What's the difference between the Maduro wrapper shade on a limited edition and the Maduro wrappers that you might see on the Cohiba Genios, Magicos, the Secretos, or the Partagas Maduros number 1, number 2, number 3. What's the difference? Okay, so I'll read out some information for you so you get a sense of the difference. Okay. The main difference, I'm just reading this from a thread that I've written on the forum about 2.5 years ago. The main difference between these terms, between the Maduro wrapper and Maduro shade wrapper, is understanding that one of these is a reference to the colour or the shade of the wrapper. The other represents the process undertaken to develop a wrapper for specific brands such as Cohiba Maduro 5 and the Partagas Maduro series. Wrappers come from shade-grown plants, with the lighter shades coming from the bottom of the plant and the darker shades coming from the top of the plant as it gets most sun. In order, these are Claro, Colorado, Maduro, and Maduro. Maduro wrappers utilised in the Cohiba Maduro 5 series, which was released in 2007, come from the very top of these shade-grown plants, with extra aging, 5 years, and fermentation required. These result in the added sweetness to the flavour of the blend. When the Partagas Maduro number 1 was released in 2005, Habanos SA described the cigar like this: the Partagas Maduro number 1 offers a smoker all the flavour and intensity of the Partagas with a very special wrapper, selected from the best leaves, harvested from the top levels of the shade-grown tobacco plant, and which has developed after an additional period of fermentation, a texture and intense colour that are the ideal complements to the full flavour blend of Maduro No. 1. And so Maduro wrappers in this sense differ from the shading reference above due to the process undertaken to produce these wrappers, which require extra aging and fermentation. What about limited edition cigars? So here we get to the point. Do these utilise Maduro shaded wrappers, or technically speaking, are they Maduro process wrappers? The wrappers on the cigars are described thusly on Habanos SA's website. Limited edition wrappers are darker than those found on standard Habanos. Darker wrappers come from the leaves picked from the higher levels on shade-grown tobacco plants, which are thicker. Such leaves demand longer periods for fermentation and aging, so they are left in bales for at least 2 years before the cigars are made. In my opinion, these Maduro shaded wrappers that are a little sweeter than normal help to influence the common chocolatey flavour of the limited edition cigars. So there you go. So I think the main difference we can glean from that is limited edition cigars are noted for having chocolatey notes, but the Cohiba Maduro line and the Maduro 5 line and the Partagas Maduro line wrappers age for 5 years. It's a process, and it has a slightly different effect on the cigar. Certainly, still you could say it leaves a cocoa chocolate note on it, but I think with the 5 years, it's even more sweeter than what a limited edition would be. I definitely think that's true. So far, the cigar, the ash and the construction has been spot on, like every other cigar in this Cohiba series. Look how long that ash is. I reckon I could still keep going. Still thick plumes of smoke. It certainly has settled. It's not as spicy now as I'm going towards the end of the middle third. The cocoa refined hay. I'm not picking up distinctive honey sweetness or like vanilla beans or citrus in it. Not at any of those flavours, no. And the licorice sweetness that I had at the beginning, the anise sweetness has died down as those other flavours have been more dominant. I'll come back in the final third and give my concluding thoughts on this cigar. So coming into the final third, my conclusions on the cigar is that if you're inclined to think you've got a box and you still have some left, are they losing their peak flavour? It's hard to say. From what I remember smoking one, now it's 4 or 5 years. Look, it goes without saying that it was different, but it certainly has potency still. And that the answer to that question is individual in the sense that it's really up to the person smoking whether they would have preferred them when they first came out, or 3 or 4 years down, or even now at the 8-year mark, 9-year mark coming up. They certainly haven't gone anywhere. This has not gone anywhere near towards a medium mild or mild smoke. No way. The 2006 Cohiba Siglo 3 and 4 and the 2003 Cohiba Pyramidis Reserva were certainly milder. This is more, in terms of strength, it was more in line with the Siglo 6 cigars. But look, there's no surprises. It's a quality refined cigar in terms of its flavour. And there's a reason why you pay a premium price point for these. The leaf that goes into them is of high quality, and that's what it is. But I'm really glad to have brought the cigar to you today and to share some insights into the cigar itself, some of the history of the limited edition program, the Maduro wrapper. even the pigtail. It's been fun to share that with you, just to give you some broader knowledge on this cigar and cigars in general. I wonder if I can retrohale it. I'm just curious. Doesn't seem to have been as strong as it was in that short period in the middle third where it was at its strongest and most spiciest, but it's still fairly strong. I could certainly retrohale it much better than what I did at that point. Funny enough, I picked up a little bit of that anise or licorice sweetness just then, and that's into the final third. So that tells you that in my mind, it's surely the cigar would have been even stronger in the past. As per usual, I hope you've enjoyed the review, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, happy smoking.